From the station that made country music famous, 650 AM WSM, this is a Coffee, Country, and Cody podcast. Hey, it's Charlie Matos, and in this episode, we Zoom with Ray Benson, longtime frontman of Asleep at the Wheel. The Asleep at the Wheel string band was getting set for 2 shows at Nashville's City Winery. We would talk about that and a whole lot more with Ray Benson. Enjoy our Coffee, Country, and Cody podcast.
I got 7 nights to rock. I got 7 nights to roll. 7 nights I'm gonna show my face with a different chick and in a different place. 7 nights to rock. I got 7 nights to roll.
Oh. Levi. Hello, Raymond.
Hello, Mr. Cody. How you doing?
Ray Benson of Asleep at the Wheel. I'm well. You are looking very rabbinic there this morning with that quarantine beard, mister.
That's right, man. I got it all happening, man. We didn't have a lot of gigs last year, so I figured I could get the Santa Claus gig, and then they did away with the Santa Claus job. So, I'm out of luck.
Well, you and I last had a chance to visit. We spent a couple of days together shooting the pilot for what will be a series on the Circle Television Network as people watch us this morning and listening all over the world at WSMOnline.com. Bill Cody Presents. And Ray and I ran all over, literally all over downtown Nashville, Music Row, the Ryman Auditorium. So they said, look, you have got to leave. You are tearing this place apart. So I can't tell you how much I enjoyed that and the fact that you have joined us this morning on your way to the City Winery. So you're back in Nashville.
Well, yeah, we got tired of sitting around, and things obviously changed. So we put the string band together, which is just 2 fiddles, Katie and Dennis and Josh on the bass and me. And we've done this before. And that way he seemed to make it work. Yeah, we played the other night in Florida, had 2 shows. It went great. And then and Katie's brother's going to join us in Nashville, old Ross Holmes, who plays with the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, among others, because he lives in Nashville. So it'll be a lot of strings on stage.
Ray Benson, if you just joined us, you may have to do a double take to recognize him if you haven't seen him in a while. Megan?
Ray, you said you're on your tour bus. Is that right? You're in Florida, headed to South Carolina. What's the essential on the tour bus? Is there one snack that you just must have when you're on the road?
The espresso machine. Shall I go over here and show you the espresso machine? Hold on a second. There you go, huh?
There it is.
Oh, man.
Got to have the coffee.
That is big time.
That is nice.
That is the deal. Those of you in Radio Land, I was showing it. If I had an endorsement, I'd tell you the brand and everything, but I don't.
We'll get you one.
Ray, for so many people asleep at the wheel, you automatically think Texas. You think Austin, you think Texas. But a lot of folks may lose in the Ray Benson story that your Philadelphia is home initially, right? And we just celebrated 50 years of Asleep at the Wheel.
Yeah. The suburbs of Philly. And then the band started in West Virginia, and then we moved to California. Then I met Willie Nelson, wound up in Austin. So, yeah, it's, I think the tagline is, but golly, we're American.
But Ray, I think people deserve to know more about Paw Paw, West Virginia, the birthplace of Asleep at the Wheel, and how you wound up in, of all places, a little town like that in West Virginia. Well,
we had some friends, and they were caretaking an old orchard up there, and they said, "Hey, there's an old log cabin here." I told them we were starting a band, and they said, "Well, you can stay in our log cabin." It was built in 1790. It was 1969, and me and Leroy and Lucky said, "Well, who wouldn't do that? Start a country western band with a bunch of hippies with hair down here. Why wouldn't you?" And so we did, and we played in the local honky tonks. Almost got killed, but they loved our music, so they figured they'd spare us. And that was the story. Yeah, it was pretty. It's not a movie yet, but certainly it'll be a movie. And I don't know who will play me, but he weighed 190 pounds back then, and now he weighs 260.
And we got, when you see the pilot from the television show, the series, Bill Cody Presents on Circle one of these days, we've got the pictures to prove it.
They did say, Bill, that was incredible. You know, folks, Bill and I went around to the first recording studio we were at, where I knocked on doors, you know, down Music Row and everything, and it was quite a nostalgic trip.
Gosh.
So who was your first Nashville connection for people joining us this morning? Who was the one who made that possible to go from Paw Paw and bring your music to Nashville, at least give it a shot?
Nobody, no. We knocked on all the doors. The first session we ever went to was Mel Tillis over at RCA Studio B, and they let us in to sit down, and Mel had a few drinks and was finishing the duet with Sherry Bryce. But we knocked on every door, but it happened when we moved out to California, and Van Morrison, the famous rock and roll star, heard us and put us on some shows, and then all these folks from United Artists Records signed us. And they said, oh, we'll record you out here. And they said, no, we want to go to Nashville. And so they sent us to Nashville, but we were signed by a guy in L.A. named Dan Burgoyes, and then the rest is history.
And was it both, or at least I want to say your mother, who was significant musically in your family?
No, Mom was tone deaf. Mom couldn't sing a note. No, my dad had musical talent, but no, everybody played in the neighborhood. Me and my sister had a group, and we started playing folk music. 1960. Yes, we played with the Philadelphia Orchestra. When I was 10 years old, we sang "This Land Is Your Land" and "Old Top of Old Smoky," and we would do, Lefty Frizzell and Peter, Paul, and Mary, and that we were cute. Called the 4 Gs. We had orange square dance outfits for the girls, and in 1961. But yeah, so I was a child performer, and then, but I don't know how this all happened really, but it did. And the 50th year is we're celebrating that right now, and in fact, in the fall, we'll be having a lot of the original members back to do shows both in Austin and around Texas, and hopefully in Nashville.
How many members have you had through the years, Ray? Those who've come and gone, some have come back?
About 100.
And you've been there through it all. Yeah,
the new album's entitled Half 100 Years. And old I was with Jamie Johnson. I said, Jamie, Sleeping Wheel's been around for 50 years. And he looked at me and went, half 100 years? So I said, I'm going to write that, Jamie. He said, go right ahead.
When you and I sat down in the Ryman Auditorium when we were filming that day, it really took you back as an audience member and what you recall about the first time you saw the Grand Ole Opry in the Ryman Auditorium. Yeah,
1970, stood in line, down around the corner and got in the old Ryman and sat up in the bleachers. I think for $2. I'm pretty sure that's how much it was. Sat up, and whenever I play on the stage, I look up to the left side in there and see, I sat up there. But it was amazing. Golly, I saw Johnny Cash. I saw the Fruit Jar Drinkers. I saw Marty Robbins. I mean, on and on and on. And just felt glad that I actually got to do that, go to the old Ryman Auditorium and watch the old band Roy Acuff doing the Wabash Cannonball. And, yeah.
Ray, thank you so much for your time this morning, coming on the way to Nashville, going to Newberry, South Carolina in just a couple of days, and here on the 4th, that's Thursday of this week, at the City Winery. Doing not one, because you can't get enough in one show. You got to do 2 shows and get it all. Get the full string experience that is Asleep at the Wheel these days at 6 and 8:30 on 650 AM WSM and Circle Television. Padna, thank you so much for getting up and coming on.
My friend, thank you, Bill. I'm glad you got your computer working. Don't push anything. Don't touch anything.
Just give us your credit card information and password, okay? That's all. Thanks for listening to our Coffee, Country, and Cody podcast. Our program director at WSM Radio is J. Patrick Tinnell. Our digital producer is Haley Hall. Marketing and promotions director is Amanda Cannon. And I'm Charlie Matos. If you like what you've heard, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And leave us a review on iTunes. It really does help new people find the show.